Okay, I think we'll get started. Thank you all for coming on this wonderful spring evening. So nice to see everyone. Tonight's meeting will start with our usual two featured speakers who will each get 5 minutes to share their stories, with time for a couple of questions directly after their presentations. Then we will open it up to anyone who would like to speak for 2 minutes about any topic. If you would like to speak tonight, please make sure that you fill out a yellow card and give it to our moderator, Rodger McDaniel. All speakers will get a 30-second warning, and then they will hear the bell. Tonight's PVA board here includes Allie Grossman, who's our timer, Rodger McDaniel, our moderator, Jim Erdelli will be our roving mic person, Mike Selmer is greeter, as is Sharon Breitweiser, and Klaus is here as well, and me. PVA is a nonpartisan group conducting meetings to educate the local community on political issues and candidates and other community events, charity, and nonprofit groups in Albany County and the state of Wyoming. Please pass the bucket during the meeting. Your donations go toward our Zoom account, the use of this building, supplies, and filing fees. And before we get started, I have one other thing. July's meeting is going to be for candidates. So if you know of anybody or if you're registered and you want to run in the primary, please come and tell us why we should vote for you on July 20th. Now, please find somebody you don't know too well and share what is new and good in your life for 2 minutes. Thank you.
There. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to PVA. Glad to have you here tonight. My name's Rodger McDaniel, and I'm the moderator. We're going to begin, as Marian said, with two 5-minute speakers. You'll recall that in the last budget session, the Joint Appropriations Committee introduced a state budget that included a $40 million cut for the University of Wyoming. The cut was justified by the Freedom Caucus members who control the Appropriations Committee as a way, quote, to get their attention, the attention of the university, which in their view had not sufficiently responded to prior directives of the Freedom Caucus to curtail university programs in diversity, equity, and inclusion. In order to reverse that cut and restore the $40 million, legislators had to propose amendments to the bill. Representative Ken Chestek is our first 5-minute speaker tonight. He introduced an amendment to restore the cut. So we've asked him to come tonight to provide us with an excerpt of the speech that he gave on the House floor in order to persuade his colleagues to restore the university budget. Ken?
Thank you, Rodger. Members of the Joint Appropriations Committee have said they want the university to refocus its mission on its mission as a land-grant university, citing the Morrill Act, which helped fund the university back in the 19th century. But that narrow focus on the Morrill Act overlooks the fact that the university does have a mission beyond just agriculture and engineering. The university was created in the Wyoming Constitution. Article 7, Section 16 says the university shall be equally open to students of both sexes, irrespective of race or color, and in order that the instruction furnished be as nearly free as possible, any amount in addition to the income from its grants of lands and other sources above shall be raised by taxation or otherwise under provisions of this legislature. The first legislature then set the mission of the university in statute. I'm quoting the statute here. The objects of the university are to provide an efficient means of imparting to men and women, without regard to color, on equal terms, a liberal education, together with a thorough knowledge of the various branches connected with the scientific, industrial, and professional pursuits. To this end, it shall embrace colleges or departments of letters, science, and the arts, together with such professional or other departments as in the course of time may be connected therewith. The Department of Letters shall embrace a liberal course of instruction in language, literature, and philosophy. Now, I saw some of you wince at the word liberal twice in that section. But the word does not mean liberal in the sense of partisan politics. That is made explicit in another section of the statute. No instruction, either sectarian or religious, in religion or partisan in politics, shall ever be allowed in any department of the university, and no sectarian or partisan test shall ever be exercised or allowed in the appointment of trustees or in the election or removal of professors, teachers, or other officers of the university, or in the admission of students thereto, or for any purpose whatsoever. No, the word liberal here means abundant, as in apply liberally. But the main point I want to make here is that the university is not just a trade school for agriculture and engineering. Like all modern universities, since its founding, the university has been dedicated to producing well-rounded individuals. That's what higher education is all about. It's an opportunity for young people to transition into adulthood by encountering new ideas, new disciplines, new adventures. They need a wide variety of programs to choose from. The abundant course of instruction in language, literature, and philosophy laid out in the original statutory grant. It is more than the Morrill Act, always has been from its founding. During the budget presentation last week, I heard a lot of members in this chamber praising the concept that the world needs more cowboys. I embrace that enthusiasm, but a cowboy does not need to be protected from new ideas or new people. The whole point of a university education is to prepare our young people to thrive in the wider world. In order to thrive, a young person needs critical thinking skills. They need to learn how to solve problems. An essential part of gaining that skill is expanding and then challenging your knowledge, testing your knowledge and beliefs against new ideas. Doing so helps you sharpen your thinking, to help you discard ideas or positions that don't stand up to better or stronger ideas or new knowledge. And we all know that our students will certainly encounter many new ideas in the wider world. If we try to protect students from those ideas at the university, we would be failing them in the most fundamental way. The $40 million cut to the university's block grant will weaken the university. It will result in layoffs of teaching staff or even closing programs. The cut sends a message to our young people that the state really doesn't care about their education at all. A weaker university will have a harder time attracting and keeping students. We all bemoan the fact that the Wyoming's biggest export is our young people. This cut will drive away more students and accelerate the brain drain we all worry about. I urge you to vote yes on second reading Amendment 66 to House Bill 1. Nailed it.
After each of the 5-minute speakers, we'll have an opportunity for a couple of questions. And I might mention the PVA ground rules. We ask that people be respectful, that even if you disagree with the speaker, that there are no personal attacks. And we also ask that people remain seated during the meeting. It is being broadcast on Facebook, and so movement around the room is distracting. So there's time for a couple of questions for Representative Chestek. Anyone like to begin?
It's my understanding that it took a very short time in the conference committee at the end of the legislature to get rid of this nonsense of the $40 million cut. Is that correct? And do you have any knowledge of how that conversation went?
I did not attend or see that meeting because I thought it was going to be a long, drawn-out affair. I was shocked when it took 15 minutes. But what happened was my speech did not carry the House. The House still kept that cut. It did change the conversation in the House. Everything about DEI never came up again. They changed the subject on me. They said, oh, it wasn't about DEI at all. It was really about administrative bloat or whatever. So they changed it, but they still voted to keep the cut. The Senate said, nope, we're putting it back in. They put it in immediately, right? Then it went to Congress committee, and the Senate basically walked in and said, this is the budget that we are going to pass. And if you don't like it, then we'll see you in June for a special session, period. And I got to give some props to Gary Crum, our senator from Albany County. Gary Crum was the guy who was on that appropriation, that joint conference committee, specifically for the purpose of defending the university, and he did. And the Freedom Caucus said, oh, it's going to be like that, fine, good, see ya. And they caved immediately. Yeah.
Is there one more question, maybe? Anyone?
Ken, thanks for all you've done on this. My question is, how many of the people from the House are moving or trying to get elected to the Senate? And how is that going to affect the bills next year?
Yeah, I haven't counted. There's a lot. I can think of, just off the top of my head, 7 or 8 that are trying to move over. When the Freedom Caucus lost pretty much everything, and we got a decent budget out of the whole process, and they had a press conference right after the session, which nobody attended. There's a picture of the rotunda with them at the podium and nobody in the at all, 0 people, but they're still they're being recorded and broadcast. And the Freedom Caucus chair said, "We need reinforcements," you know, as if they're in battle with the voters. It's like it's a war analogy. Reinforce our fight against the voters, and the reinforcements they're looking for are to try and take over the Senate. So there's a lot of them doing that. We'll see how that works. I'm cautiously optimistic that they're not going to be very successful. I hope not anyway, but that's their game.
After all of the 2-minute speakers, we'll take another round of questions. And if you have another question for Ken, you'll be able to ask it at that time. Our second 5-minute speaker is Jeff Victor. He's the founder of the Laramie Reporter, and he's come tonight to speak to us about the upcoming election campaign and what to expect.
Just pull up my notes. All right. Hey, everyone. I am Jeff Victor. For those that aren't aware, I am the owner, editor, founder of the Laramie Reporter, which is an online local news source. We cover city politics, a bit of state politics, housing, culture. We cover a lot, and we cover elections. And we've got elections coming up, the primary in August, the general in November. And so I wanted to talk a bit about how I'm going to be covering the elections, because really my goal and how I cover elections comes from the goal that I have in covering them. My goal is to give you the information that you need to be an informed voter, to go to the polls on election day or to cast a ballot early and actually, like, know everything that's on that ballot, because I've definitely been in the situation before where I've gone, excited to vote for, someone, whether it's like president or, maybe your, House Representative, like someone high up on the ballot, and then you keep working down, and there's a whole bunch of things on there that you don't know the names, and maybe you don't know like what they do. My goal is to try to give you information so that you can be informed on as much of that ballot as possible when it comes to election day. That said, I can only cover so much. As a former mayor of this town once said to me, it seems like, Jeff, you are in a constant state of triage with the stories that you're writing. And that's very true. I write what I can. I try to focus on the important things, but there's too much out there. Every single week there's, a couple of other things that I could have covered if I just had the time to do it. So I've got to prioritize. And so I want to tell you all how I prioritize those things. And really, when it comes to election coverage, I start with local races, big races, and ones where there's a real meaningful contest. So I focus locally. That would be, there's going to be a lot of other journalists covering the race for governor. So you won't get a ton of that in the Laramie Reporter. If there's a big, debate between the candidates in Laramie, I'll probably cover that, but there will be other statewide publications covering that, so I'm not going to focus as much on that. There will be fewer other journalists covering more local races. So the 6, we're not electing all 6, we're electing 5 of our 6 people that we send to Cheyenne, a majority of our county commission, not a majority of our city council, I think, but almost half. We've got school board races coming up, all the countywide elected positions. So all of those are really the ones that I want to focus on. And I start with the biggest ones. So, I'm going to be starting with those ones that are higher up on your ballot. So you know who you're sending to Cheyenne and who's on your city council and county commission and stuff like that. it would be really nice if I can get to it to really get like far down on the ballot and explain, what the Laramie Rivers Conservation District does, and what's the difference between people running for that. That would be cool, but that's sort of a stretch goal. I'm going to focus on the other stuff, and we'll see how far down the ballot that we can actually get. The other thing, contested races. So I'm also going to focus on ones where there's a meaningful choice for you to make, and that means for some races, even though they're important, they're local and they're big, you might not actually see something from me on them until after the primary when we're in the general. So to pick on Representative Chestek, if he doesn't have any primary challenger, it's not super important for me to give you a big feature explaining everything if you're going to go to the polls on primary election day and just have one choice. So there will probably be, the House 13 feature looking at the candidates, and I picked House 13 because we know there will be a Republican there. So there will definitely be a feature looking at those differences. That's how I'm going to prioritize them. I will say this year I'm looking to hopefully expand on recent years and get into not just candidate features, but also looking at specific issues like where do your city council people fall on housing policy? And I'm watching that bell, so I think I'm just about out of time. Yeah, okay. That's basically it.
Thank you, Jeff. We do have time for a couple of questions right now, and there's one right there.
Do you anticipate having time to to dig in much to the tax initiatives, including the tourism tax that'll be on the ballot?
Oh, yes, I would like to, I would classify those as like big races or decisions to make. I definitely want to make sure to explain those. I think in the general there's also the fifth penny probably. So like I want to explain those things as well, not just the candidate races.
Is there another one?
Jeff, are you going to send out a questionnaire to candidates?
I'm on the fence about that. I might. Sometimes, weirdly, it's kind of been like pulling teeth to get people to respond to that. I initially did it because I thought it would be an easy way to get everyone, and then I could follow up with interviews. But what I'm learning from talking to candidates is that at this point, they are bombarded. Once you like actually sign up to run for something, everyone across the whole country sends you like questionnaires on everything because every interest group wants to like know everything about it. And I would argue for prioritizing the local questionnaires over, some interest group from Texas, but that might not be the most efficient way. So I might, but I'm going to try to like interview people who are running. I think that'll be more fruitful.
All right, our 2-minute speakers are next, and the first one is Dennis Cook with an update on the nursing home at Ivinson.
Well, just a brief update. We're in the process of having consultants evaluate the needs for a nursing home in the community. And they're working, and we had hoped they'd have their report out by now, but they don't. We have, the trustees are meeting next Wednesday afternoon at the hospital in that room down by the dining room, the Summit Conference Room. And it's always important for people to come, but I'm not sure we're going to have that thing to really debate seriously. I think what will happen if we get a draft report, we'll look at it and then set a special meeting early in June to have the consultants get on the television, the Zoom thing, and have a good give and take about that. And then once that report is accepted, then we'll send them off to look at how much it would cost to build a nursing home to meet the needs that they determine that we need. And so we're in a good, thoughtful process, but it just takes a few minutes and it'll be, but it's not until July 1st that the certificate of need statute that prevented any competition disappears. So it's July 1st that old law goes away. So thank you.
Our next speaker is Eric Henderson to speak about the Epson Center and Snowy's Lodge.
Thank you, everybody. Snowy Lodge just got about 3 feet of snow this week, so I'm not sure that the plans haven't changed for Saturday. However, 9 a.m. to noon, they're looking at a community builder where they're going to ask for hands to pick up the resort a little bit, freshen it for the season. And like I said, I'm not sure that part's going to happen, but I know that food's been ordered, and they're looking to entertain with a couple of drinks for those that show up, and have a social with Mike Hurwitz and the Aimless Drifters. If you're a fan of that music, live entertainment begins at 3 p.m. and goes till 6 at Snowy's up above Centennial. On June 5th, the Epson Center with their enchilada, their annual enchilada sale, they are $30 per dozen. Speaking with Tammy Comer this afternoon, they have the traditional 3 flavors, beef and cheese, the house, and the cheese and onion variety. They are about half to their goal at this point, with June 5th being the deadline to order and a June 20th pickup date. And I hope that you will support the Epson Center for Seniors with the support of dozens of their wonderful products. And they do it, for anybody that might know, St. Lawrence School used to do the enchilada sale locally, and even KOCA and other groups doing enchilada sales. But this one carries the recipe that most people know and covet year round. Any questions? We'll take next time. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Okay, Klaus, you're next. His topic is Don't Run Away, Run for Something.
Well, I bet you can guess from my topic what I'm going to talk about. But first, I need to let you know that I am here as a private citizen tonight, not as a member of the PVA board. I am not wearing that hat. I am here as the Albany County Democratic Party chair, the WDP Minority and Allies Caucus vice chair. I don't like free time, so I wear lots of hats. We have, as a state party, and as a county party, been actively working for well over a year trying to get people to register as Democrats, trying to get people to run for office. And I am pleased to say that we have had some really good success. At the state level, you may have seen, we actually have candidates running for U.S. Senate and Congress. We actually have a Secretary of State candidate. We have a candidate for governor. Now, you may or may not like these people, but we have candidates that are running. With my connections in the state party, we have candidates running in Washakie County, Shoshone County. We have a lot of candidates running, those ones might surprise you. We have candidates running in Natrona County for House District seats, Laramie County for House District seats. We've got a candidate running in House District 46 here in Albany County. And so I am here to tell you that time is running out. This is the registration filing period, and you have until May 29th to help the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party needs you. The state party needs you. The county party needs you. I'm going to have to go fast here now. So I am asking you to consider running for office, get your filings done before May 29th. But the most important thing that you can run for in Albany County, the real power of the Albany County Democratic Party, is state committee man, state committee woman. not that precinct committee man, precinct committee woman. We have 60 seats available. Those are the people that decide the direction of the party. You want to make changes in Albany County and the state of Wyoming? Don't run away. Run for something. Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is Stephen Magnifico to speak about electric co-ops.
This is going to be a lot of information said very fast, so I can encourage you to come find me after if this topic interests you. But we can do far more than just run for and vote in public offices. There are people in this room that are members of an electric co-op. That means that they're not customers of Rocky Mountain Power, they are customers of Carbon Power and Light, they might be customers of High West Energy, and this presents a really unique opportunity to get involved in the processes that shape our day-to-day lives, paying our utility bills. Earlier this year, there was a bill at the legislature that would have given people the ability to plug a solar panel into their wall outlet and power their home. Not through a rooftop solar installation, but literally taking a solar panel, plugging it into a wall outlet. That bill died in committee because the chairman, as the chairman later told WyoFile, he didn't believe it was necessary. The utility said that there was nothing stopping these people from plugging a solar panel into their wall outlet. So I'm a community organizer with the Powder River Basin Resource Council. Our members later called Rocky Mountain Power, and it turns out that was a load of crap. They told us we can't do that. They told us we needed a smart meter. We have a unique opportunity to be engaged with our electric co-op, because it's currently up to each utility to determine whether or not you can plug a solar panel into your wall outlet and help power your home. So if you're a member of Carbon Power and Light or a member of High West Energy, or you know someone who's a member of any of these electric co-ops, you have an opportunity to reach out to the board of directors on your electric co-op and see how they feel, see if they're willing to develop policy around this issue. Another reason why it's important to be engaged with your electric co-ops, if you're a member, is because with AI data centers proliferating around the state, it's important to be sure that our co-op has their members' interests in mind rather than those of the corporations that seek to dominate our lives. If you're concerned about AI data centers and you know someone who's a member of an electric co-op or you yourself are a member, please reach out to that electric co-op board of directors or encourage your friends on the electric co-op to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. The next speaker is Pat McDaniel to talk about dog transport services and the Laramie Animal Welfare Center fundraiser. You want to just use the microphone? Jim will bring it to you.
No. Give her another hour.
Oh, I could do that. Okay. Transporting animals saves thousands of lives every year. Transporting animals from under-resourced, full, unable to take any more animals in, to rescues or even adoptive homes across the country. Excuse me, I need this so I don't fall over. Is just critically important. And I've been doing it for 3 years. I get my husband to help me with it, and we enjoy it. And I got to spend Mother's Day taking this wonderful dog that, of course, loved Rodger most to Rollins, and that's usually our run. We are looking for people to always consider volunteering for this. There are a number of transport organizations that operate in this part of the state. It's all volunteer. No one charges for anything. It costs nothing to any of the sending rescues or the receiving rescues. And we donate our time and our gas. And I know gas is important, but lives are more important. So I would like you to consider doing this. It's really rewarding. It's really fun. If you like dogs, we've had a cat, but mostly it's dogs, then we'd like to see you join our group. Suzanne Luer is our clearinghouse. There she is. For this area for transports. And if you would like to add your name to that list, then you can contact her and she'll put you on the list. You're never really asked to take more than a 100-mile route. I've taken longer when it was needed, but you can say yes or no, and you can accept that length or double it. But please consider it. Rodger, do you want me to talk about laws? Yes. Okay. Just want to point out, Laws is having a fundraiser. Laramie Animal Welfare Society is having a fundraiser through Chipotle. If you will take, you can go on Facebook. They have a poster there. If you take that in, or even something off your phone, the portions of what you pay for there will go to Laws. And Laws is a wonderful organization. Thanks, Ken. I'm a mess. So anyway. Think about that too. I'm the animal person, but remember that we have several in here, and Suzanne is your person. If you are wanting to have your name put down, by all means. And I want to tell you, Suzanne, I'm happy to tell you that we have somebody who has volunteered their home as an overnight. So here in Laramie, that's great. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, our next 2-minute speaker is Sarah Brown Matthews to talk about Pilot Hill. Thank you. I have a pretty good slow voice, so I won't. Come up here.
Play by the rules. Thank you for your time this evening. I just am here to say thank you to this community. So many of you have contributed to Pilot Hill. I see out on the property all the time. It's because of this community that we've been able to secure the property, protect our aquifer, and end up with a really wonderful resource for generations to come. We are done with all of the new trail construction on the property. We'll be constantly doing maintenance, so if we're messing up your favorite trail, I apologize, but I promise you it'll be better in the long run. We also are almost finished with the trailhead. I hope you've been out there and you've noticed the construction going on. Because of that, we're going to have a big community celebration on July 22nd this year. It'll be from 5:30 to 8:30 in the evening at the new trailhead. We have a really good band coming in, so come and dance in the dirt with us and help celebrate what this community has accomplished. Thank you.
All right, and our last 2-minute speaker is Marav Ben David to talk about water. Oh, I see a hand up. Oh, okay, I'll reshuffle the cards here. Come on up, Marav.
Hi everyone, it's a delight to stand here on a snowy, rainy day and talk about water restrictions. As you all know, we had a very dry winter following another dry year, so 2025 actually was pretty bad as well, but not as bad as 2026. And the city of Laramie put out information, calls for people to be conservative with water use, and also mention that if the river indeed goes dry this summer, as it did in 2002, they will have to draw all the water from the Casper aquifer, and so there may be restrictions. And not necessarily because there is not enough water in the aquifer. The aquifer, as we all know, is deep. But the city's capacity to pump enough water for our use is limited. We do have quite an improvement in storage, etc., but not enough to pump all the required by the city. So the city is calling on people to be conservative now, and also mentioned or threatened that there may be restrictions coming in the, later in the summer. If you're interested in what the aquifer looks like and what the river looks like, There is a link in the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Albany County Planning and Zoning Commission, to a document I created. It's on the website. You just click on a link. It will take you to a little presentation that shows the low level of the river and the declining levels of the aquifer. One thing is, I did look at both the aquifer and the river after this storm, and we gained a tiny bit. So we are better than we were 2 days ago, but we're still too low. Thank you.
All right, the next one is Suzanne Luer to talk about aging with attitude. Y'all pay attention.
This doesn't apply to some of you, I realize. It will, if you're lucky. Okay. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Rodger. In January, I submitted an essay on my fitness journey to AARP's Senior Planet-sponsored athlete program, and I was selected as one of 5 athletes in the country. So as a spokesperson for Senior Planet, I get to teach a virtual fitness class here this month and one in September. And my first one is coming up in a couple of days here. So I'll be showing several exercises at the gym, but also showing alternatives to these exercises for people that work out at home. So, and a couple of different alternatives for each of the gym exercises. So if you'd like to join me, it's Wednesday at 11:30 on the Senior Planet website. It's, I think, seniorplanet.org/classes. And if you scroll down on Wednesday to Wellness Wednesday, Wednesday Wellness, one or the other, I'll be in there. So, and my apologies to those of you that are too young for this, but you could probably pretend that you're old and join us. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Our next speaker is Erin O'Doherty to announce her candidacy for the City Council.
I'm Erin O'Doherty. I think most of you know that. I wasn't going to run again, but I had a couple people lined up that I thought would run. And one of the young people that was interested said he just really couldn't handle the public comments. And it's unfortunate that maybe that's the intent, to drive people away from running for office. But on the whole, it's very rewarding. And so you can't let the naysayers get you down if you are running for office. And so I'm going to run for Ward 3 again, and I'll fill you in more on the July meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. Our next speaker is Sharon Breitweiser to talk about candidate filing.
Just to kind of add on to what we've heard from Aaron and from Klaus and others, the candidate filing period for pretty much everything is right now until, as Klaus mentioned, almost 2 weeks from now on Friday the 29th. And some of the offices that, don't get quite as much attention, Klaus mentioned the precinct committee people. There are also slots for Republican precinct committee people, and those will be elected just at the primary. It's not one where people move on to the general, so it's one and done on that. We've also got the city council, which Aaron mentioned, and there are, as Jeff said, approximately half of the 9. We have 3 wards. There are 3 council people in each ward for the total of 9 on the council. And this year, 4 of the seats are up. There's one each in Ward 1 and Ward 2, and then there's 2 up in Ward 3 where Aaron is running. So I have a little list here that I printed out from the county website, the county election website. It shows all the offices except for the precinct ones that are up this year and who is currently in that seat and what the filing fee is. So there's no filing fee for precinct person. If you're going to run for city council, you have to do that down at City Hall, and it's $25. Most of the other races are about $100 for the state legislature, and you know, Kent has already filed, as have all of our incumbents. The school board election will not be have filing until August, and that'll be a one and done in August. So you won't have anybody filing right now for school board. That will happen after the primary. So just make sure you're kind of up to date. If anybody'd like to look at this list, I'll have it in the back. Thank you.
All right, our final 2-minute speaker is Brett Glass to talk about city council accessibility.
Good evening. I'll be brief. Last week, the City Council was discussing the city budget and exactly how they were going to spend taxpayer money. And the meetings for that were held out at the Municipal Operations Center, not at City Hall. As a result, very few members of the public showed up. And if you take a look at the video on YouTube, it's really muddy and hard to see and hard to listen to. And so by moving so many of the work sessions out to the Municipal Operations Center, unfortunately, the city has made things less accessible. They don't have a video system that's even as good as the one that we have here, which which our wonderful staff is doing a great job of broadcasting. Instead, they have a little device called an owl, which tries to automatically spotlight the person who's talking and does not do a very good job. Please, if you're in touch with with people in the city, please implore our city council, our city staff to do something about this, because unfortunately, again, this week's meeting is actually a city council meeting, but next week there are going to be more important work sessions. And right now, unless you're physically able to travel out to the Municipal Operations Center, you're not going to be able to see what's going on with your city. The city, in my opinion, the city should definitely beef up the AV system for that. And for people who want to get there, since it's not very bikeable, maybe even consider running a shuttle. But we definitely should make sure that these city work sessions are not walled off from the public. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we have a time for another round of questions. For first the 5-minute speakers and then the 2-minute speakers, we have time for about 2 questions for each one. If you're asked a question, if you'd come up and use the microphone, the questioner, Jim, will bring the microphone to the questioner. So let's start with Ken Chestek. Are there any more questions for Ken?
Ken, 2 of the interim topics for the Judiciary Committee are SLAPP suits and access to court records without having to physically go to the courthouse, as we all do now if we want to look up what's going on in the courts. What progress has been made on those topics?
We had our first interim committee last week, and both of those were discussed. The anti-SLAPP bill, we had a good discussion of it, and I actually made the motion to have a draft bill prepared for next interim, which will be, I think, in October. So we are going to have a proposal. I think it's a good idea, and we will probably have a bill draft approved, I'm guessing. So that one is moving along very well. The court records, there was no action taken at the Judiciary Committee meeting. We had a good discussion, and there was a lot of interest in having it happen. There are some logistical problems with it and some funding issues with it, and nobody had a good solution. We did suggest that we'll put it back on the agenda for further discussion in our next meeting in October, but no action is pending right now on that topic.
Another question for Ken?
excuse me, just a suggestion that for some people might not know what the SLAP bill is, if you explain that.
Yeah, SLAP stands for Strategic Litigation Against Public Participation. Basically, it's a tool for the little guy to fight the big guy. So if some big company or big powerful entity files a frivolous lawsuit basically intending to make you shut up, and the tool is they throw this litigation at you, and it's expensive to defend, and you have to spend a lot of money, and you just give up. That way you'll shut up. This is a tool to get those frivolous cases adjudicated very early. And if you get the case, if the little guy gets the case against the big guy dismissed, the big guy pays the attorney fees. So it's a way of protecting the weaker party that's being attacked illegitimately through a frivolous lawsuit.
All right, for Jeff Victor, are there additional questions for Jeff? Seeing none. For Dennis Cook, any questions about the nursing home at Ivinson?
Sorry, Dennis.
You want to just stay down there?
Yeah, I'll
and use
just
that
hand you. Dennis, I was just thinking this might be an opportunity for people to understand what role you're in and if that's up for election.
So there are two governing boards for the hospital. So the taxing authority and the actual elected board is County Hospital District Board of Trustees, and there are 5 of us. So there will be 2 up for election. And Sharon, I was going to comment, they're probably filing deadlines are in August for those offices as well. Is that correct? That's correct. So, and that's a nonpartisan thing. The other board is one that was appointed by the hospital district, and then it self-perpetuates, and I think there's about 11 people on that board, and they're limited to three-year terms, and then the board reappoints successors in the process. So that's how it's governed. But the actual taxing authority comes through the hospital district board of trustees. So that's how that works. And there'll be 2 up for Terry Rourke and Steve McGuire. Their positions will be up, and I haven't heard whether either of them will actually try to run again.
Question right next.
Oh, beg your pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Just out of curiosity, the scope of the project that's going on right now, I assume the consultants are only looking at the need and the cost of a nursing home facility if it's determined we have the need, not making a recommendation on the style or
right.
type of, okay.
So what happens is the current study is to look at demographic data in our kind of capture area. So we're Albany County, but the hospital district actually serves people in Jackson County, Colorado, and eastern Carbon County and southern Platte County, and some of those. So they're looking at how many beds would be an appropriate number of nursing home beds in the community. And then they'll take into account the fact that the existing nursing home supposedly has 105 licensed beds. Most, for the last several years, only about 50 are occupied. And then they'll also consider the fact that they're Medicaid, Medicare 1-star, which means they're a very deficient kind of facility. And so that'll be whether we want to build one to compete with that. And then the question will be then, how many rooms would we think we would build? And there's just some generic data that they can pick out as a range of costs for that sort of thing. But thanks for the questions.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, questions for Eric Henderson on either the Epson Center fundraiser or Snowy's Lodge. Any questions for Eric? Oh, right here, behind you, Jim.
Eric, on the Epson Center, how does one go about ordering the enchiladas? Call the Epson Center, go to the website? What are the specifics on that?
Via cash or check, $31.25 a dozen. For credit and debit card orders, you need to go to 1560 North 3rd Street. The merchant services account online is not active, so I'm sure that's impeding some of the ordering traffic that's traditionally been enjoyed, but you can do it on location.
Okay, thank you.
1560 North 3rd Street.
Any other questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric. Klaus, any questions for Klaus? None? How about for Stephen Magnifico on his talk about electric co-ops?
You mentioned that a restriction to people putting up their own solar panels would be a smart meter. What would it involve for a residential area to get a smart meter?
Yeah, so that's a really good question because we don't know. We've tried to find out. So what Rocky Mountain Power told us was that these smart meters that are necessary to use a plug-in solar panel are not currently approved by the Wyoming state government. That is what multiple members of Powder River Basin Resource Council and Laramie have reported back to me that have individually called Rocky Mountain Power to ask them about this. So, you know, when they tell the legislators that are on this committee that's hearing the plug-in solar bill that there's no impediments to using a plug-in solar panel, and then they're telling us that, oh, well, you need a smart meter, and the state of Wyoming needs to approve that, and they haven't done that, I don't really like that. A lot of other people that were interested in these plug-in solar panels also don't like that. So when I did a little bit of research, I found out that, as it turns out, plug-in solar panels are widely used in Europe. And many European utilities do not require a smart meter. The difference between European utilities and American utilities is the fact that many European utilities are public, and we're dealing with privately owned American utilities that are only accountable to their shareholders and not necessarily to the general public. And so this is why I was talking about electric co-ops, because they're an exception to the rule. They are utilities that are actually accountable directly to their customers instead of to private shareholders that own them. If you're an electric co-op member, you are the owner. The utility is accountable to you. So is a smart meter technically required? I would say probably not from what I've looked into it, but is Rocky Mountain Power going to require it? Yes, they are. I hope that makes sense. Yes, next question.
With the concern of the data centers, do you have a contact that the public could call and basically ask questions or get some answers?
Are you a Rocky Mountain Power customer or Carbon Power and Light or High West Energy? Which utility are you on?
Rocky Mountain.
I do not know who to reach out to at Rocky Mountain Power. And again, I want to emphasize that Rocky Mountain Power is, as a privately owned utility, is unfortunately mostly truly accountable to their shareholders and not the general public. I would encourage you to research who to call at Rocky Mountain Power. I don't really know at this time. Is that it?
Thank you, Stephen. All right, questions for Pat McDaniel regarding dog transport volunteers or the law's fundraiser. Any questions? I wanted to see her walk up here. All right. For Sarah Brown Matthews.
You better not show
She wants to watch me walk down these steps. Sarah Brown Matthews, questions about Pilot Hill? Sarah, do you want to come up to the mic?
I know you've got the grand opening, so to speak. But are the facilities going to be available any earlier than that?
My hope is that we can open them starting Memorial Day weekend, but I just can't make any promises. A couple of major things that we still have to have the utility light, or the light posts and fixtures installed in the parking lot. We're also supposed to start painting the metal structure that is the shelter. Needs another coat of paint, and they're supposed to start that the 22nd, but I think with the weather it might be pushed back a little bit. So we do hope to open them as soon as possible, and it's safe. We just don't want to do a lot of open and close type of activity. The third piece that is still we're still working on is installation of the remainder of the landscaping and drip irrigation system.
Question?
Thanks, Rodger.
All right, questions for Marav regarding water? Okay, how about for Suzanne Luer, aging with attitude?
You don't really have to get up. It's barely it's not really a question. Okay.
Yes.
I was just going to say I loved the Wyoming Public Radio feature about you, and I was going to encourage people to check it out and say that while you're there, you can read the story that I wrote about the slap suits and public access to records if you want to know more about either of those things.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions for Suzanne? Okay. How about for Erin O'Doherty and her announcement as a candidate for the city council? All right. For Sharon Brightweiser and her presentation about candidates filing. For Brett Glass and questions about accessibility of the city council. Brett, come on up.
Yes.
So Brett, I just wanted to comment that I'm so much in favor of public access to public meetings, because we struggled with that same issue on our board of trustees, where 100 people came to a meeting, but they didn't record the meeting. And there was a brief mention that a few people showed up and were in favor of a nursing home. So I think public involvement in public business is critically important. That's what the Republic's built on.
I agree 100%.
So I trust that you're in favor of that notion.
Absolutely. And a member of city council is.
Yeah, were you able to see the staff presentations online? Because that was the important part of the meeting.
I was able to see only the slides. Again, the audio and the video were very muddy. Check them out on YouTube. They did not come over well compared to compared to a typical city council meeting, even compared to what we're recording tonight. And I think it really does need to be more accessible. Again, I wish we could have a bike path out there so that people could possibly come there. I wish there were better handicap access, but maybe, and again, a pipe dream. I know it's expensive to run a shuttle, but we should make sure those meetings are accessible somehow. Thank you.
Hi, I just want to add that I believe I did watch that meeting online, so it was accessible. I do agree that Chris Stratton and humans do a better job, but I also understand the accessibility with finances and wiring buildings. So I do want to thank the city council for at least making the effort, because I was able to eat my dinner in my kitchen and watch online. So I do consider that accessibility. My question is it a place in which there are physical accessibility issues, or is this simply a transportation issue?
I would say that it's, certainly a big part of it is transportation. There is no good way to ride a bicycle out there unless you want to ride on the shoulder of 287. There's no bike path. There's no back route to the Municipal Operations Center on 287. And certainly, if you have very limited mobility, you need to either hire a van or do something to get yourself out there. It's very difficult. As for the quality of what's produced there, again, very often it doesn't. The automatic OWL device doesn't train itself on the right speaker. I've had trouble myself hearing the audio, and I've had to rewind and go forward again and rewind again. It's certainly we certainly deserve to have the same sort of quality that we have at City Hall. At least I think that the public deserves that. And yes, there's some money there, but it's mainly a one-time expense getting better equipment, and I think we should invest in that.
Okay, thank you all. The board is grateful for your attendance, your participation. Thank you to the speakers, and we'll see you all on the third Monday of next month.
June 15th.
June 15th?
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.